Hello sim racers, today we're going to be taming the bull, that is, driving the Lamborghini Huracan GT3. This bad boy produces 600 brake horsepower with 1239 kilos, which makes 2.07 kilos per brake horsepower. We're going to be doing this on the Assetto Corsa Challenge Temple of Speed, and that's 10 laps of Monza, and we're going to be doing it on Alien difficulty. The purpose of the video today is really for us to basically go through some basic setup, some racecraft, and building confidence. So this will help you with this alien level challenge. However, the information here can be used in other sims. We're going to begin here with the setup. So first off, we're going to go and take a quick look at the gearing. Now, the default gears allow for us to go up to, it looks like 303 kilometers per hour here. Well, what we want to test and see is how fast can the car go in a straight line anyway. So what we're just doing here, this is an earlier run doing this test. We're coming up here behind the Mercedes SLS. In the red circle down here, we can obviously see the kilometers per hour, and this is the longest straight on the circuit.
On your left.
So what we're checking out here is how fast can the car go. Now it is 4 laps into the race, so we still have fuel, but we see that the maximum that we hit here is 279 kilometers per hour. So really, I don't need 303 here. So what I'm going to do is go to the final gear ratio and knock it down a couple of notches. What that does is shifts every single gear down and allows me to have a more short shift. However, on the final gear, I just want to make sure that it's got capability of maybe 10 or 15 kilometers more than what we just tested. Tires, we're going to pick softs, and we are also going to reduce pressures down to 15 psi to maintain as much contact with the track surface as possible and heat in the tires. Fuel is set at 32 kilos just in case we need a little bit extra at the end of the race. For our electronics, we are going to leave the traction control on 2 and switch our ABS to 2, so we barely have that running. And for our aero, we don't really need it. We're around Monza, so the front gets reduced to 0 and leave 1 notch on the rear. Here we are, started the race.
P13. Alright Hawk, nice and neat, stay out of trouble.
Jim, my race engineer, he's drunk sometimes. P13, I'm really 15, but okay.
Green, green, green.
Jim does sort himself out. Anyway, getting a great start here. It's very, very important to literally munch as many cars as you can on the start of the race if you intend to get to the top of this challenge. So, managing to take 6-7 cars, but just making my first mistake here, getting a little bit too greedy on the entry there and making contact with the Merc. So just trying to recover from that. It's very important to, if you are going to make a mistake, try and make it as small as possible and to just get your head down and just get on with it. So just following on, I'm just chasing up the road here now as we're going to pass the McLaren almost as though he's standing still on the left hand side. So again, worth just getting your head down and just getting back in the game.
Car left, clear left.
Very, very important to do that. So just trying to just get back neat and tidy and just stay right behind this Merc here. We're coming up here to Lesmo 1, just knocking the car down into 3rd gear, trying to get as much acceleration and use the exit on the way out, braking in a straight line from 5th down to 3rd, again touching the apex, running to the apron on the outside just to make sure.
The gap to Gaddis ahead is increasing, it's now 0.7.
Thanks for that update, Jim. So yeah, we just continue. Obviously coming now to the Ascari chicane, braking before the 100-meter board, trying to get down to 3rd gear. Driving as close to the apexes as possible through the chicane. And you can exit on like 3rd or 4th gear. You want to get as great an exit as possible because that's what's going to help you down this straight here, which is leading to Parabolica, the final turn of the circuit. So down to 3rd gear here, trying to keep it nice and neat, in line with the apex, accelerating as quickly as possible out of there, keeping it steady, making sure to change gear as to not end up facing the wrong way, and trying to catch a slipstream off of the Merc ahead.
Hawk, this is terrific, exactly what we came here for.
On your left. Still there, clear left.
E6.
That's my spot to clear, by the way, so just braking. Guys in front are just a tiny bit slower, making my second mistake only on the 2nd lap here, just making contact with the beamer there. But again, just trying to keep the mistakes to a minimum and just trying to make sure that if you do make a mistake, you just keep it as small as possible, and it just allows you to just stay in the race. So just on the back of this Audi here, just chasing him down in his slipstream.
Car
What's
right.
very, very interesting
Clear
about this
right, right
Lamborghini
side.
is it's
Clear
incredible
right.
on the brakes, but very different to
Nice move, mate.
very different to a lot of the cars, in the sense that when you initially begin to brake with this Lambo, it doesn't seem to slow down very quickly at the beginning, but towards the end of the braking zone, it really slows down a lot faster than other cars. So it's actually a bit of a throw off at first. Again, just trying to just keep it neat, keep it nice and tidy. Second lap, we're already 4.5 seconds up on our previous time. Just trying to just make sure, obviously, it's just keeping the groove and not to fall too far behind. We've already overtaken 10 cars, but
Who's on the track?
four
Force him
in
to find
front,
the gap.
we're in 5th place now. Yeah, so the 4 in front of us are the ones that are really the difficulty in this challenge, and it pretty much takes the rest of the laps to hunt them down.
The gap to LS ahead is now 0.7.
So I'm managing to reduce that gap, catching up with the Beamer ahead. Again, just trying to just use as much opportunities for any slipstreaming, even if it can give me a kilometer or two an hour more. Just trying to just constantly think about how can I just progress, how can I get ahead, and just trying to keep it neat and tidy and consistent the whole way. Looking for the braking marker here, which would be just around 150 meter board. Braking down very harshly,
Still there.
consistently, in a straight line, trying to leave the other
Still
drivers some
there.
room,
Clear
and just accelerate as quickly as possible. It's very, very important to remain neat and tidy at all times. To just try to do that, to maximize your driving line. It doesn't always work, and you will sometimes make mistakes,
side.
but you have to try that.
Hold your line, clear right.
Again, the amazing braking from the Lambo shown here.
Right side
Going
tyres are
through-
cold. Well done, Hawk. Good pass. Eyes front.
Going through the chicane right there, just the ability for it to just slow down so much at the end of its braking zone just gives it a clear advantage over some of these other cars. And what we're going to possibly notice sometimes here on the straights is to just take a look and just see how quickly the car accelerates. And that comes back down to our gearing, where we shorten the gearing ratio, and the short shifting is allowing for us to accelerate very, very quickly and to get up to our top speed very quickly. And leaving the gear ratios longer allows for us to have room to get to a top speed we will never make. So this is where you see the benefits of reducing that gear ratio. I do also believe that the AI are using medium tires for this race, so obviously I have an
Douglas
advantage.
in. The gap's now 0.30.
Closing the people down in front of me very, very, very quickly. But again, those drivers at the front, they're the ones that are very difficult in this challenge. That's really who it's about. The first sort of 10, 12 drivers don't even really matter very much.
On your left. Hold your line. Clear left.
B3. Swing past, mate.
So here we are, coming back to turns 1 and 2, just trying to keep it nice and consistent, just slowing it down, using first gear for the second turn, and just accelerating as quickly as possible once again. Just trying to break the gap between me and the guy behind, because I don't want to be giving him a draft if I can avoid it. So to get away from him as quickly as possible and to get onto the back of the next driver is what I'm looking for here. Braking just under the bridge, just after the bridge, trying to get down to second gear, use second all the way through that chicane, and accelerate using the exterior.
The gap to Douglas behind is increasing. It's now 1.8.
So yeah, the gap behind's increasing, which is great. Going ahead, we're just slightly reeling them in front. As you can see here as well, just to point out, the right front tire, for some reason I cannot get that warmed up on this circuit ever, even with the lowest tire pressures. But usually it's the left hand turns, as you see here, which tend to warm the tire up, but there's not very many of them on this circuit, so that tire tends to remain cold. But it doesn't mess things up too badly, thankfully enough. So here we are looking for this gantry and the 100 meter marker. We try and brake again in a straight line, get into third, turn in, try and get as close to the inside as you can, accelerate away again. In an F1 car, I'd be making more effort to stay to the right, just to keep that line tight.
That lap time was 150.31.
But the exit from Parabolica isn't as vital with the GT3s. Again, looking for the 150-meter brake board, braking down, getting it nice and tight, as we see here from the aerial shot. Just touching those apexes, making sure that you kiss the inside of those without hitting the inner curbs, and just making the most of it. Here is Curva Grande.
Okay, Hawk, you're reeling. Gallardi in. The gap is now 2.5 seconds.
Right, so we're reducing the gap ahead. Obviously, we need to do that as soon as possible. We're almost halfway through the race as it is, and we still have yet to catch these guys. Thankfully, it looks like they sort of get into a bit of a scrap, which is helping to slow them down, which is beneficial. So, as a racing driver, you kind of have to remember that. As a sim racing driver, you have to kind of remember that sometimes the AI battling can actually help to slow them down, and sometimes being behind, you can lose confidence. It's seeing the gap, and it can make you make mistakes. Sometimes it can actually make you more determined too. But them fighting ahead of you, that can actually give you confidence and make you realize that you're actually going to catch them, and they're going to slow each other down while they fight. So just use
front tires are cold.
Use little tips like that to just be able to just keep your head in the game, and to just keep you focused, and just to understand that by not giving up, there's a possibility obviously that you'll be able to catch these ahead. It wasn't the first or second or third try of me doing this that I got it done, so realistically it does take some work, but it is again just every tiny little advantage that you can use for yourself.
Halfway home, fuel looks good. You've just done a 150.36.
Also, Jim, my race engineer, he's from a piece of software called Crew Chief. I'm going to leave a link for that in the description below. An awesome piece of software. He's another person that tends to help me keep my head in the game. Don't like it when he talks to me in Ascari.
The guy in front is Gallardi.
And sometimes he speaks at the wrong time, but he's actually very helpful too.
The gap to Douglas behind is increasing. It's now 7.4.
Actually having an engineer explaining to me times, it saves me having to look to try to figure out what's going on. So albeit that I have the scores, the timetable on the right hand side of my screen, sometimes even just looking at that or concentrating or focusing a little bit too much on that information can actually screw you up sometimes. So it's nice to actually have somebody explaining to me what the gaps are. Again, like I say, sometimes Jim's a bit drunk and his information can be a little bit off, but he tends to be pretty much there most of the time, which is cool, and it's very, very helpful. So just trying to close down this gap. I'm running a bit slowly here. I'm 1.1 seconds behind, and unfortunately, like, this is where my driving mixed with sort of them fighting actually doesn't really end up harming me, even though I've driven a little bit slower. And you will
reeling Gallardi in. The gap is now 1.2.
You will get a lap here or there where you do end up being slower, and that's okay. Again, get your head back in the game and just chase them down. Even though I was slower, the fight between the two of them has actually brought me closer to them, even though I am showing up here.
Okay, Hawk, we're matching race pace.
Considerably slower, and this Jim has just confirmed that I'm actually matching race pace despite having been slower on that lap than my previous laps. So visual distance here, we can see really caught up to these guys. And here, oh look, check it out, the Audi makes a mistake. And this again is what we talk about, keeping your head in the game and just making sure that you are there. Had I have not continued to be consistent and to continue to push, even at a point when I did slow down and make a mistake, I wouldn't have been there to capitalize on that Audi's mistake there. So just being aware of opportunities and just being able to jump on them as soon as they appear is vital in sim racing. So now it's just us and the leader really to worry about, because I'm sure I'm going to be able to drop Mr. Audi from behind. And we are on lap 7, so that leaves us with 3 laps to get the job done. The Audi's not...
Alright, Hawk, don't let this guy distract you.
The Audi's not letting it drop, obviously. As you can see, he's chasing me down hard. But we are definitely here going to use the advantage of the brakes of the Lambo to just brake that little bit later into the corner and just try to be nice and consistent through Ascari. That's probably the most important, that and turns 1 and 2, the two most important places on this circuit. If you can get those two things right on Monza, you're great. Parabolica I'd say comes second. So joint 1 and 2, Ascari and the first chicane. Second is Parabolica. Definitely very, very important to get this right because you obviously need to maximize your speed on the start finish straight.
This is excellent, mate. Keep it up. We're setting the pace. That lap time was 151.78.
So again, just trying to be clean, just trying to be consistent, using the slipstream to catch up to this guy. Now, thinking.
Hold your line.
I do not want to have a crash with him in turns 1 and 2. So I'm going to leave him some space, as you've seen here, because it is better to live and fight another day. We still have 2 laps to go than to have an accident.
Clear left.
I also know that my car is going to accelerate that little bit faster than his because of the way how I've set it up. And so to just remain calm in the situation is often what's going to get you ahead and allow you to win these races. Just keeping it together and not making rash moves. And already
You've got a bit of tyre wear on all your tyres.
We begin to build a gap, just as Jim informed us obviously that our soft tyres are starting to wear a little bit. But we only have 2 laps to go, so we're doing okay, definitely. And just starting to just eke out a gap just a little bit between us and the guy behind. There is always a temptation as well to go for fast laps in these situations. And if you're confident enough to do it, obviously that's a great thing. But sometimes it's worth thinking of the long game and just doing what it takes to just stay consistent rather than trying to pull a Vettel from 2009 in his Red Bull days when he used to like to, or 2010 sorry, and through to 2013 when he liked to pull a fastest lap on the last lap of the race and things like that. So the temptation's always there, and if you can do it, by all means go for it, but at the same time also just think about not throwing the race away. So I can see that the pace that I'm lapping at here again, this is actually race pace here. So I'm 1.1 down on my slowest, on my fastest time.
It's now 0.9, 2 to go. Stay focused. We can win this. You're now in the lead.
Thanks for that, Jim. Again, Jim with his words of encouragement. So yeah, even though I was a little bit slower there, it's still not enough to fall back into the clutches of the drivers behind, and I'm still somewhat building a gap between me and them. So just trying to just keep it neat, just keep it tidy. Here we're a little bit quicker than we were previously, which is cool. But somewhere throughout the lap you have to decide, do you really want to push for that time and risk making a mistake, as I have done several times doing this challenge, or do you want to just keep it together and just make it to the end of the race? And I chose in this situation to just keep it together and make it to the end of the race. If I'm 2/10 down on a lap, I don't really particularly care about that. It's not that big of a deal towards the end. I'd rather win than score a fastest lap on the last lap of the race, or the second to last lap of the race. And I'm pretty sure I already have the fastest lap anyway. So here we are again, just trying to keep it nice and consistent, just driving nice and neatly through Ascari. Again, one of the most important places on the circuit. It really helps your acceleration down this final straight here to help you approach Parabolica. Again, on the left we're going to be looking for the 100-meter board, braking down into third, and then just trying to just keep it nice and neat to get a lovely exit onto the start finish straight. So here we are, almost 1 lap to go, and it took several attempts.
1 more lap, you're P1.
Several attempts to get here, but again, the tips that I'm just giving to just try and stay focused and to just try and sort of help your craft and the way you kind of think about going about things a little bit better. And to be honest, that's helped me here, and it's helped me in my progress with my sim racing in general, just kind of thinking about stuff. It doesn't mean that you don't make mistakes, because obviously you will always make mistakes. Even real drivers make these horrible mistakes from time to time, but it's about trying to sort of minimize those mistakes, trying to get your confidence up, trying to make sure that you always remain consistent, because sometimes consistency is better than speed. In fact, in most instances, consistency is better than speed. So definitely, obviously everyone wants to be quick, but being consistent is definitely of more value, and that definitely lasts throughout, for example, seasons, championships. We see it in F1 all the time. The drivers that score consistently in races are the ones who end up near the top of the table, or the champion at the end of the season. That still applies in a race in a smaller sense, in that it's better to get a lap that's half a second down on the fastest lap, and to be able to do that as many times as is necessary for the race, than it is to be able to set the fastest lap on lap 3 of the race, but you crash out by lap 5.
Behind is now 1.9.
So yeah, we built a gap of 1.9, coming around for Parabolica for the final time now. Really excited at this point, because it feels like challenge complete here. And here we go, it's across the line.
Well done, mate. That was absolutely perfect. Great win.
So as you see, the achievement there unlocks alien level. So again, just remembering, check your setup, remain consistent, watch your racecraft. Thanks for watching.